municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc acknowledges that it is located on Treaty 21 territory. We are thankful, this isn't working, oh there we go. We are thankful to the generations of people who've taken care of this land, including the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, the Munsee Delaware First Nation, and the United Nation of the Thames. So our roll call.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Eva Baker. I'm the Acting Secretary Treasurer for the Committee of Adjustment. I'll be hosting the meeting and managing participants. Committee members joining us this evening are Member Kennis, Member Kumar, Member Vian, Member Peltman, Member McGuire, and Member Turfstra, who is also our Chair. Member Derbyshire is absent this evening with notice. Municipal staff in attendance this evening are Jennifer Huff, Director of Building and Planning, Aaron Besch, Planner with the County of Middlesex, and Melanie from the Legal and Legislative Services team. I would like to acknowledge at this time we have 2 individuals in attendance in person this evening and no participants joining us virtually. Tonight we have 2 applications to be heard by the committee. The chair will introduce the application and provide the applicant an opportunity to speak to the application. The planner will follow with their report. The public will then be invited to make comments or ask questions about the application. The chair will then call upon the committee to ask questions and make comments before the chair calls for a vote on the application. Once a decision is made, there is a 20-day appeal period from the date of decision for minor variances and 20 days from the date of notice of decision for consents. If anyone wishes to be notified of the decision, you can make a request today or make a written request following this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. Our next item is the approval of the agenda. I need a recommendation that the April 4th, 2024 Committee of Adjustment agenda be approved as circulated. Recommended by Frank, seconded by Dale. All in favor, raise your hand. That carries. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest by any of the committee members? No, seeing none. Reading and correction or approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes of our last meeting? Any corrections to note? Seeing none, then I need a recommendation that the Committee of Adjustment meetings for March 7th be approved by Dale, supported by Steve. All in favor? And that carries. So our first and only submission for consideration tonight is an application for consent B3 2024 and a minor variance for A5 2024 for 245 2nd Street, that's County Road 33 in Strathroy. And the owners are in attendance. Simon and Joanne, welcome to our meeting tonight.
Thank you.
And I'd like to go to Erin for her committee report.
Thank you, Chair. So the application before the committee this evening is requesting to sever an existing dwelling from a larger industrially designated parcel of land. In order to facilitate the severance, the applicant has also submitted an application for minor variance, which would request relief from section 26.3 of the zoning bylaw to permit a minimum lot area of 29.1 hectares and a lot frontage of 190 meters, whereas the minimum lot area and lot frontage for lands in the future development zone are as they lawfully existed on the day of the passing of this bylaw. So the subject property is located on the north side of 2nd Street with frontage on the south side of Wright Street within the Molnar Industrial Park in Strathroy. So this is the location map that I am sharing right now shows the overall view of the property. It does have frontage on both roads. 2nd Street is of course a county road and Wright Street is an industrial collector road. So the dwelling which we are requesting severance for this evening, I will do my zoomed in location map to give you a bit more context here. So the dwelling itself has frontage onto 2nd Street. The lot to be severed is proposed to be 0.67 hectares in size with 56 meters of frontage along 2nd Street. The lands are connected to municipal water and sanitary services. There is an existing dwelling with the driveway access onto the road. This dwelling was constructed in 2018, which replaced a previous dwelling in the same location that was constructed in the 1960s. The applicant has advised that the proposed western lot line was delineated to follow the top of bank, leading to the drain to the west. The lot to be retained is approximately 29.1 hectares in size, with 190 meters of frontage on Second and 303 meters along Wright Street. Lands contain several agricultural buildings which operate as a livestock facility, including a drive shed, barn, several silos, and a manure pit. The lands also contain several pastures associated with the livestock, and the remnant of the parcel is in agricultural production. The applicant has advised of a desire to retire the livestock operation and decommission the barn, but they plan to continue this use in the short term. The agricultural buildings are currently accessed via the shared driveway with the dwelling, and the hydro line is also provided by a service line that services the house and the agricultural buildings. So the unique part of this application is that although there is a residential dwelling, the entirety of this property does fall within the industrial designation in the Molnar Industrial Park, which includes the house. The lands are also within the future development zone, which is applies to undeveloped lands in Strathroy, Mount Bridges, and Melbourne to ensure future development occurs in an orderly fashion. Only existing uses are permitted until time of a more comprehensive proposal is brought forward in the future, and then the lands would be redesignated to that specific use. And so under the future development zone, of course, as I stated in my intro, only the minimum lot area and the minimum lot frontage is as it existed on the day of the passing of the zoning bylaw, so any amendment to the frontage or lot area does need to be identified through a minor variance, which is why we have the concurrent application this evening. So I'm going to save you from going through all of the policy analysis that I included in my report, but it is all there for your review. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. The Director of Building and Planning offered no comment on the application, but concurred that the analysis that the application is not consistent with the Strathroy-Caradoc official plan policies. The county engineer advised that if approved, the owner will be required to dedicate up to 15 meters from the center line of construction of 2nd Street across the severed and retained parcels to the County of Middlesex for purposes of road widening if it is not already to that width. And of course, Middlesex County Safety and Standards Officer, if approved, the retained farm parcel or industrial parcel would require a 911 address to be assigned. I have not received any comments or concerns from the public at this time. So my analysis for this consent, the provincial policy statement, county official plan, and Strathroy official plan, Strathroy-Caradoc official plan speak to the protection of employment lands and the importance of these areas for local and regional economic development in the future. So section 1.3.2.3 of the PPS specifically identifies that planning authorities shall prohibit residential uses and prohibit or limit other sensitive land uses that are not ancillary to the primary use of the property, and this is to maintain land use compatibility. The chief building official at the time that the new dwelling was constructed took the interpretation that the property contained a residential dwelling, therefore a residential dwelling is an existing use. That is why it was permitted to have another structure put on the property in the same location. However, there is no policy support within the PPS or the county official plan to allow the severance of a residential dwelling within an employment area, which includes industrial areas. And further, specifically to the Strathroy-Caradoc official plan, those employment protections continue and trickle down into our local policy document. It identifies that Molnar Industrial Park is intended to be the primary location for new industrial development in Strathroy. The predominant uses of land are industrial, including manufacturing, assembling and processing of goods or materials, etc. Additional secondary uses may be permitted, provided they would not undermine the viability of the area for industrial purposes. So I do recognize the investment that the landowners have made by constructing a new home. I just am unfortunately not able to find policy support in either the provincial policy statement, the county official plan, or the local official plan to recommend approval of the application. I analyzed the proposed variance against the 4 tests of minor variance. My analysis really hinged, of course, on the designation of the industrial lands and the potential of severing this dwelling would further entrench a residential use in our identified industrial and employment area. So my primary concern with this is just that it would have a limiting factor on industrial uses in the area in the future. They would be restrained or constrained rather by this sensitive land use in close proximity. So my recommendation this evening for the consent is denial, as the application does not satisfy the requirements of the Planning Act, is not consistent with the provincial policy statement, does not conform to the official plans of the county or Strathroy-Caradoc, and it does not represent sound land use planning. And further, my recommendation for the minor variance is denial as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Erin, for that report. First off, Simon and Joanne, do you want to add anything to the comments this evening?
Yes.
Okay.
Switch my eyes. This is on, yes? Okay. First of all, we'd like to thank you for coming here to consider our applications. Simon and I are both long-term residents of Strathroy. I have lived here for almost 38 years, and Simon has been here for almost 62 years. We raised 3 great kids here, giving them the experience of farm life with the convenience of town. We are now lucky enough to have our grandkids come and enjoy our property. Back in 2018, we decided to tear down our older farmhouse in order to build our current house with the intention of one day retiring here. We designed the house ourselves, making sure that it was practical for both our present and future needs, and planned on living here until we can no longer take care of ourselves. Strathroy has everything we need, which we appreciate. When we decided to build our home, we knew that we were building in a future development area, but felt confident that we would be able to live out our retirement years in this house. With all the residential development to the west and south of our property that has happened in the last 10 to 20 years, and with future residential development that is planned across the road from us, we really didn't worry too much about having to move. We figured we would fit right in. We are hoping to separate our home from our farm with the intention of slowly slowing down on our farming practice and someday selling the remaining property to whomever approaches us with an offer we can all feel satisfied with. Again, thank you for coming here and considering our application.
Thank you. So now I go to the committee members, and I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of questions. Who would like to start? Frank.
Well, I'll start. I guess I'm kind of caught up in the middle here. I appreciate our rules on this one and the zoning and all that kind of stuff, but I also see a situation where the property that is being asked to be severed is really not dissimilar from the 3 or 4 or 5 houses right across the road from this property. There's residential immediately to the west, subdivisions that were mentioned, and even there are at least 1 or 2 houses further east on 2nd Street as well that exist as well at this point. Certainly, I think we all recognize that the larger property is own future development for industrial, and the town certainly is in need of more employment lands as we are starting to run out of those types of property. So, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I wouldn't be opposed to this application if others on the committee felt the same way. That's where I'm at.
Okay, thank you. Steve?
Yes, thank you. I was thinking similarly. To me, when I'm going through the issues, you know, the purpose of not wanting residential there is to make sure that we don't have a conflict between the manufacturing that eventually will be there and the house. And while currently you may be fine with it because you may be fine that I got the windfall from selling the property, but the next owner might not be. So I was, you know, I'm trying to envision the property and I'm thinking, okay, so it looks like is that a fence or is that a lane that goes up the middle?
We have a laneway and then we have a fence. That's where we house our cattle on the other side of the fence.
Right. So if we did have a street coming down the middle of your property, you know, does it leave portions big enough for us to provide industry on there and not necessarily have a through street? In which case, maybe with having what do you call all the rules?
Lot size?
No. By basically planting a crap load of trees around the house, that
Like a buffer?
a buffer, yeah. That you don't have the issue, and then essentially, you know, a portion of that front of the property is compromised by the ravine anyways for any depth of street that might be coming up. But that planting of trees have to be pretty heavy so that there's not direct sight line as all the trucks are whizzing past, and that's kind of where I see meeting in the middle, that we have to throw some extra rules in regards to having the property created to make sure that mitigation is as great as possible.
Going on to Mike.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I will echo strongly the sentiments of my fellow committee members. I think, you know, if we were starting from scratch without any residences on that property, then I don't think we would be considering it. However, that's not the situation we're facing. We have both this piece of property, 245 Second, and also 283 Second on the other, probably the other corner, front corner back in the day. They are existing. I mean, this is a piece of property residence that would be in the 7 digits, I'm sure, if it was ever to go on the market. The thought first of all, the thought of reducing a residence of this quality from the municipality is not what the province is asking us to do. In fact, they're wanting us to build more houses. I appreciate, and I do want to say that everything in the report, I appreciate that staff are accurate and they are 100% correct according to policy. However, my statements are in contradiction to their recommendations because this house is already existing. Certainly the long-term strategic plan for the municipality is to see these lands develop differently than they are today. These houses are already existing, and therefore, however that development occurs, we'll either have to incorporate 245 and 283 Second Street, or somebody with rather deep pockets will be making other recommendations. But for the moment, I am in favor of the application. Certainly recognizing that there may be other conditions that we have to put in place that might not have already been considered should we accept it. So that's where I would go with that.
Back to Steve.
If I can, through the chair, to the staff, in terms of future development of this property as industrial, is there a plan in place for where there might be roads or how we saw this developing?
Through the chair to committee member Pelkman, no, there is not at this time.
So I wonder then, is there a possibility not to make a decision on this tonight, but to send it back to staff to see if there's a compromise that could be made that would still leave the majority of the property suitable for industrial, but provide a buffer maybe for both of those homes, so that we mitigate the conflict between the two? Is that a possibility?
Through the chair to committee member Pelkman, so certainly we can discuss additional conditions to help with the mitigation measures. I think it would be premature though to come up with a road pattern for the retained lands.
Right.
I think at this point it would be really to focus on measures that we could include as a condition of the parcel that's been proposed by the applicants, whether that be a buffer of trees or something to that effect.
Yes, Mike.
Thank you. So through you, Chair, over to Director Huff. Should a motion come on the floor to accept the consent, I'll just deal with the consent for the moment. So should the motion come on the floor to accept the consent, would it be beneficial from your point of view that if we accepted that motion but referred it back to you for conditions to be considered, like as a kind of a two-part consent situation?
To the chair, to committee member McGuire, absolutely, that would be appropriate. Deferral of the application. For the next meeting, we would come forward with the recommended conditions reflecting the direction of committee.
And then would the minor variance flow to the next meeting, preferably?
Correct, yes.
I don't think we want to accept the consent though. We want to just defer the entire thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think we want to give approval partial without knowing if the mitigation efforts are even possible, because otherwise we've put ourselves in a bit of a pickle.
If I may, in response. So I understand what you're saying. I mean, I see it a little different, that I think I would like to give the applicants the knowledge that the consent is favorable. We just have to find the conditions. But in order to get something passed, whatever satisfies the committee, I'm fine with. I think we're all on the same page, just how do we want to do it, is where we're at. Like, I mean, I know there has to be the conditions that are agreed upon by this committee to move the consent forward. But there's always conditions that have to be met to move a consent forward, I guess is where I'm thinking. Director Huff, I think, wants to answer me.
Yeah, through the chair, to both committee member McGuire and Pelkman. So certainly staff have not prepared conditions for this one at this point in time. So it would be something that we would work on and bring back for the next meeting, knowing that was the direction of committee. But just to the point of finding, and to member Pelkman's comment to find, whether or not it's possible to implement all mitigation measures, we won't be able to do that in the sense that we won't know what industry needs certain mitigation measures. So we can make some that will assist, but I don't want to give the illusion to the committee members that these measures will ensure that there will be no impacts on industry or on future owners of the house. That's just not possible.
Back to Steve.
Yeah, thank you. So maybe if I can just put some thoughts out in the air. So I'm thinking in terms of truck traffic and noise coming from HVAC units, industrial size HVAC units, generators, those kinds of things that you're probably looking at some point. A lot of soil is going to be moved around that a berm with trees on top of the berm would be something that would give you the height and the sight lines that you might need to dampen those kinds of noises. And I mean, I know when I was living on Tanton Street, you know, we could hear the noise from Meridian all night long, plain as day. So if you have a factory like that pretty close to you, it's going to be noisy, and we're probably a kilometer away at that point, you know. So yeah, the noise carries a lot, and when there's nothing in the way, so we need to put something in the way to keep those are just the kind of thoughts that I'm thinking, that something's got to be done. You're going to be moving a lot of soil at some point anyways, whether that condition's post-sale or pre-sale is something that can be hashed out.
Something to consider, going back to Brian.
Just to comment on that, but there's going to be other houses close by that's going to impact as well, right? Maybe not quite as close as this one, but there's going to be other houses close by that will be impacted by that as well. So, I mean, to me, if we can ask for a deferral, with the point of the deferral is to see if we can make this happen. I think that's really what it comes down to. So,
Mike?
Yeah. So my thought in regards to the last couple of questions is, would most of those mitigation factors being brought forward by Member Pelkman not be done as a site plan agreement when the larger portion is being developed, as opposed to on the consent of the residents? It seems to me that's where we generally see that sitting at a different table.
Through the chair to Member McGuire. So certainly at the time that the remnant parcel is developed for industrial use, they will have to consider the residents in the area and incorporate those kind of mitigation measures into the plan. Yes.
But then you're making it more costly. Yeah.
Yes, Mike.
So one final question to the director. I think everybody can see where the conversation is going. My question to you would be, is it beneficial to you if we give direction to do the consent and for you to bring back conditions that would then be appropriate to satisfy the consent? Or would you prefer us to defer everything at this point in time? Do you understand my question? Do you want to split the motion to do the consent and bring conditions back, or just defer the whole?
Through the chair to Member McGuire, certainly a deferral of the entirety. Certainly with your direction, I know my marching orders, so we can certainly bring back a list of conditions, and we can provide the committee with some suggestions as to whatever mitigation requirements you're interested in, but certainly a deferral of the entire two applications would be appropriate.
Then I'm looking for a motion. Yes.
I'll make the motion then that we defer this matter for the next meeting. Is that satisfactory to see where we stand with? Thank you. So we defer it to the next committee, scheduled committee of adjustment meeting. I don't think I need to say any more. It's all been said.
Okay, thank you for that motion. I'm looking for support for that. Frank supports it. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that is our only consideration tonight. Are there any inquiries?
Sorry, who do them right?
Oh,
Do them separate?
do them separate?
Yeah.
Okay, I assume it's the same. So we do need then a recommendation to also defer the minor variance. Right, Steve, supported by Randeep, all in favor, and that carries. So then they're both deferred to next meeting. So then we go on with inquiries. Any inquiries by members? Yes, Steve?
I'm just gonna make one because, you know, I think this is about the third meeting in a row that we've possibly gone against the staff's recommendations that, you know, I think the way the municipality is growing, we're finding ourselves in a lot of these awkward situations that are really no fault of the staff's, and I want to make sure that, we're not setting the staff up for people to come forward with requests that aren't reasonable. You know, here we're in a situation where a house isn't even 6 years old, and you know, who would have thought that we'd be in this situation 6 years ago? You know, so I just really want to make sure that the public is aware that I have full confidence in the staff that they're making the correct recommendations as to how our policies are written. But because of the growth of the municipality and the exchanges of the land value, that we're running into a lot of these difficult situations, and have to look at them on a case-by-case basis.
Good, thanks for your comment. Our then schedule of meetings, again on the first Thursday of the month, May 2nd, June 6th, and July 4th. I know that I am going to be away for June 6th, so hopefully Frank, you can chair that meeting. Should you get around? So then I'm looking for an adjournment, a recommendation for adjournment from Steve, supported by Dale. All in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you.